Hey, my name is really Yvonne Baptiste. I only joke. My name is Professor Omar Richardson, and I'm going to talk to y'all about the importance of proper photography. So when I was in undergrad, this was a long, long time ago, in '94, you know, this was a long time times. So I found out that the key thing, I used to we didn't have iPhones and stuff like what y'all have, the advantage y'all have today's time. It was film. There was slide presentation. Annika know with this, Amanda know with this. Our portfolio had to be done on slides. So when it had to be done on slides, you had to make sure shooting it with a 35 millimeter, you had to make sure you be shooting at a certain time of the light, and if you do not have lighting, or if you're shooting it under certain conditions, it had, especially when it comes up to 3D work, it had to either be on a black surface to make it pop, or you have it on a white surface to make it pop, depending on what it is. So these were like the old school techniques, but are still critical that can actually help you with your photography and also help you with taking pictures. The advantage y'all guys have now is that this little device right here called a cell phone. The cell phone nowadays, these smartphones are so advanced, where the fact that you can actually get high resolution pixels, pictures and everything from just a cell phone. But the key thing is not just shooting the picture, it's knowing how the proper lighting is to also capture these imagery. So let's go through something I want to show you all today. So for instance, you see that there? That's a student's work. That's an image that was done by an HCC student. That was something that was taken, we took this picture together and we shot it with a phone. That's a phone. Crazy, right? So we were trying to show little details and taking better photos. And I was telling the student they can do it there. This time he had an iPhone 12 Pro, Max Pro. And I was like, we can take that same phone and capture pictures. He's like, how? I said, well, let me show you a few tricks that you can do to capture these things. So there's several different things when we think of photography, when we think of studio. You know, this is how everybody wanted their studio to be. This is how you think of when you want a photography studio, it's gonna look like this. You know, this is how the studio when I used to be in Atlanta used to look, all right? But not everybody have access to this. You know, I don't even have access to this no more. So you start to see there are so many different ways that we were first originally taught how to take pictures that sometimes it makes us even more afraid to even approach taking photographs because we think this is the only method for it to be done. But that's not always true. There's several different things that we have to take in consideration. The number one thing is light. The number one thing is not just the artwork, it's light. How much light is hitting the surface? How the light is also hitting the surface. How the light is also hitting the object. Those are important components that you must realize when it comes up to taking photos. So let's look at it. So when we think of standard of photos, we start thinking that there are different variations of when you're shooting something indoor or shooting something outdoor. Let's look at indoor. Indoor, when we're shooting something direct, when a direct light is coming towards you, we start thinking, okay, that direct light gives these harsh shadows. Well, there are several different things that we got to be aware of. How can we soften these lights? How can we do these things to make it more different? So this is showing you a demonstration of how it can be used with just a direct flash. So when people are using a direct flash, I'm starting in front of it. When you're using a direct flash, you start thinking a direct light, something like this. This is a direct light. I'm pointing it directly at you. I'm not going to cut it on because I don't want to blind you. But you start seeing this is a direct light. But I'm going to cut it on him. That's my student. I can do that. So as you can see, that's a direct light. You see how powerful that direct light is? Now, there are things that you can control those lights. But when you're using a flash, you realize that, hey, this one has temperature control. That's a little fancier. Don't worry about that. This one even up the color. If you want to make it even more fancy, see that? Ooh, pretty, right? Get blue like that. All right? But I want you to take in consideration how direct light hits the subject. That can give these harsh shadows. Like if I cut it on here, and take it up blue, you start seeing shadows start to be projected onto the wall. Now this has a frost element to it to soften it up a little bit. But when you have like these direct harsh lights, so for instance, at home, what's the number one light that we think we can use? Number one. Flashlight? Okay, cool. That no one will normally say flashlight. What you think? The ceiling light. And those ceiling lights, 90% of the time, are either not LEDs. Because a lot of parents be like, I ain't put no LED, that's expensive, I ain't buying no bulb. You better use the sun, which is actually a good thing. To tell you, use the sun. That's what my mom used to tell me when I used to want to take pictures. Turn off my light. Go outside. And I actually found out going outside was better. You know, depending on time, That's a key component. Time, how you're shooting it. Because when you look at direct light, it can change. As you can see, if you look at how the direct light from a flash, if it's coming at you, it gives these harsh shadows. If it's bouncing off a ceiling, so if you're in an area that has white ceilings, or beige ceilings, because the average home people normally paint it like a beige color to keep the tone down, not pure white, because nobody wants you touching their walls, right? So, especially with parents like mine, you never touch the wall. They're like, so why live in the house if you can't touch the wall? So he laughed, he know what I'm talking about. So you start seeing that the ceiling normally is what? Always white, right? Always a lighter tone, always a lighter color. So if you're using a flash, who in here has done photography or studying photography? Okay. So if you study photography, they start teaching you flash elements. And those elements can be helpful when you're bouncing a light. So you notice when you bounce the light off the ceiling, look what happened. It has a softer look to it, right? Softer tone. When you do something where you put more of a diffuser element on it and the light is reflecting and bouncing off the ceiling and hitting the subject, it gives an in-between tone. And when you do like a powerful light where you're spreading out the bounce, it still gives you some form of shadows, but it's much softer. So those are elements that are great for when you are doing 3D products. When you're shooting 3D, not good for when you're trying to shoot an image direct, because you want to eliminate shadows when it comes up to 2D work, like paintings and drawings. This is the average way when we shoot in the drawing, we do this. Don't y'all do that? Y'all be bending over. But when you bend over, what's happening? I want everyone to take out their phone. Take out their phone. Let's take out their phone. Watch this. So I'm going to bend over, because remember when you're home, you normally have ceiling lights, right? So I just want you to put your hand here and bend over to try to take a picture of your hand. What you seeing first? A shadow. You see that, right? But the first thing y'all say is ceiling light, because you have a direct light coming above you. So when you do that, you start getting the shadows. And when you have the shadows, what you do? You start bending back a little bit to try to get rid of the shadows. What's happening now? You're distorting the image. You see, you went from now just trying to get the image fully, or you put it on the floor and then try to reach over like this, but you're still going to get the shadows. And it's not because you're getting these ceiling lights. So those are the things that you must be aware of. Now, people have used different elements like softbox. And when they use a softbox, you see the difference between a diffuser when you're shooting it from a flash. So this is for my photographers who got the flash. You start to see it softens the light even more. When you step back, it even gives more of a softer tone. So this is great for when you are shooting 3D work. So what's great for when you're shooting 3D work? Soften lights, right? All right, or reflecting the light. And I'm going to show you all some of those techniques and some of those things, because we actually brought several different forms of light, right? Except flash, because the average person do not have flash units. How many of y'all have flashes? I do. How many? You have one? Oh, camera has a flash built on flash. Okay? So you try to use that little picky, and then come up and touch. No, that's the worst flash ever. That's the number one worst flash, is those little portable flash that actually projects at you. So we start thinking of different methods and saying, hey, how we want to take pictures. So let's think about it. We talk about this number one powerful device that y'all have. It's called the quality of a smartphone. Did y'all know that Sony's bringing out a phone soon? Don't quote me on this, but they're bringing out a phone. I heard this at CES. A little birdie said this, right? At CES, that they're bringing out a phone that has basically almost every single component as a camera. It's going to be basically a camera phone. Get it? Ha ha ha, camera phone. Get it? Nobody got it? All right, maybe alone. So you start thinking about the importance of light and how you can actually capture these things using your phone devices. Nowadays, you can download an app. And you can download apps to expand your camera capability. Some of these apps cost $1, some of these cost more. And when you expand it, they push the limits, especially when you have these phones with 3 or 2 cameras in it. It pushed the limits of actually utilizing the capability of the 3 features that your camera has. Normally, this is the average way people call their features. They call it the normal feature, when you have the normal look. Then they call it the wide, and then they call it the zoom. It's actually, you have to look at these features as not just the wide, the normal, and the zoom. Yes, it is the zoom feature, but the one thing you always want to shoot in is what you consider to be the normal feature. If you got to get close, don't zoom in. Move the camera. All right? So those are some things to be aware of. Now, with shooting photography nowadays, you can't go wrong with the newer devices if it's 11 and up. A lot of those devices have high megapixels. A lot of them have bigger megapixels for when you need to shoot pictures. They give you better ISO features, better focus features. So if you have an Android or you have an iPhone, anything from like, if it have a 2 lenses and above, it's actually a good phone. All right, so I consider from 11 straight up. Anything after that, before that, it was like when you had that 1 lens and you still thought you were cool with that 1 lens because it had portrait mode on it, you still thought, oh, it had portrait mode. It wasn't that cool. All right, when you have the double features of the lenses on the camera, it allows you to do more things and help you to take pictures. So we talked about the average way that we normally take a photo. You know, like we always like to lean over, take a photo. The best way that you can think about this in capturing something, here's some techniques that you can use. We also have these same materials here at the studio. Now we get my buds. We get foam board. This is called a foam board. I don't know if you all ever used the foam boards before, but the foam boards, some people used to use this for presentation, right? But this is photography gold. This is platinum right here. Platinum. You know why this is platinum? This is the best reflector that you can ever have. You want me to show you why? And I can show you later on how this can reflect light onto your subject in so many beautiful ways. You could use 2 of these to capture almost anything when it comes up to 3D work. 3D now. Or even when it comes up to your drawings, you can help this. You can utilize this to help you when it comes up to photo. So let's look at a setup right here. So we see a setup where we have taking a picture of a book. So imagine this being your drawing. Notice where you see your shadows are, where your shadows are direct shadow of direct light. Some people try to use the window light. They use window lighting during different times. It's another important factor. Early in the morning, between 7:30, that's when the sun comes up, right? Because of the time changing. 7:30 to 9 to 3 p.m. to 6, that's the golden hours when you're starting to shoot. But when you get that time between 10 to 2, that's when you get the peak of the sun. So the peak of the sun can be helpful when it comes up to shooting products. The reason for that being, you have more, the sun is actually high, it's hot. So you can utilize that to help reflect your light and give you better areas to shoot with. There's a few things that you must take into consideration when you're shooting stuff, if you can get these things, and they're affordable. Tripods, understand? The surface that you're shooting on. Don't try using mom countertops or your parents' countertops. They don't always work all the time, especially if they have a lot of scrape marks on it, because I know with me having kids, I bought a glass one to think that was going to help. Big mistake. Big mistake. They mess up the glass one. I couldn't even believe it. It's wooden glass, kids mess it right up. And then teenagers, even worse. And y'all have to think that y'all don't feel like cleaning stains. You're like, I'm not going to clean that. And mom will pick it up. Then your mom or dad be like, I'm not cleaning up after you. You got to do it yourself. Then you go right there and take a picture of that big stain or when you're trying to actually get your work done. So you want to stay away from those things. So make sure you have a clean surface. Look how clean that is. Look at that. Shine. Now watch it. You don't see something that's cool when you reflect light. Y'all watching me? Watch how the light reflect on my face. You see that? I can see the brightness without even being in the front. You can see that automatically. Same thing when you're taking 3D work. You start to take those things into consideration of how you place it. Also, a step stool is pretty good. If you do not have a step stool, I do not recommend using a chair. Do not. Don't even, if you turn in the chair the opposite way, I do not recommend using the chair. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. All right? So make sure you try either get a step stool or get a solid surface that you can stand on that is solid. Not shaky, not wobbly, some form of solid surface that you can stand on to get it. The important aspect of also the natural light, if you're using natural light, okay? Because the number one thing a lot of y'all have access to is the natural light. All right, and a window. Everybody have a window in their house, right? If you don't have a window in your house, then you're living in some world. It must be an robot world, because you have to have a window in your house. But take into consideration who have curtains on their windows. You know what I'm saying? See that? I can tell who have those old style homes. Who have white curtains on their windows. Who have beige. Hey, y'all have colorful curtains then. So if you have like elements like white and beige, they can help you to be diffusers for your light, especially when the sun is hot. You can diffuse it and actually allow you, and you can use that to also soften. Like we said, when the light is coming directly, it gets harder. When it's reflecting and bouncing, it softens your surfaces. So you start to think about that. So let's talk about when you start shooting the picture. This is the fun part. You know, when you shoot the picture, you start building a budget. Start building a budget for shooting the picture. So here's the budget. We all are students. We have no money, but we also have money to buy coffee. I don't know why. See, I have no money, but I'm going to buy my coffee. I got to get my coffee. That's important. So let me show you some fun factors that you can budget when you're shooting a photo. The best way when you're shooting an image, like when it comes up to paintings or it comes up to drawings, and the standard normally people try to go over, I like to put them on the wall. Put them directly on the wall. Because when you put them on the wall, and you set your light at an angle, which we can go through all the demonstrations of the lights, and you set them at an angle. This is where you can reflect the two lights together to actually even up and actually bounce off and give you this nice, soft, even look. Let me show you an example. Here it is. You start thinking of putting them at a 45-degree angle, and when you start putting these things at a 45-degree angle, you start realizing how you can actually capture. Now, some people use a tripod. A tripod within a budget, you can get a tripod for 10 bucks. 10 bucks. Even cheaper now with that new app that you can get everything from Asia. You can find all type of stuff on that. I found a bunch of camera things on there for cheap. You know, we don't say cheap, we say economical. Sorry, better term. Find things for economical prices within the student budget. So you start finding these things that can be helpful on the way that you can capture. So the best way to shoot a photo, how you shoot it? What do you say? Everyone forgot already. 45-degree angle. So if you're shooting the photograph or you're shooting the picture, what do you shoot it with?
45-degree angle.
All right, so you're going to put, hey, Professor, I don't have these lights. I don't have this fancy light you have there. I don't have the soft box there. Well, have you all ever seen the hot lights that they had, the floodlights? You know they now have LED floodlights that can be actually much safer than the regular old floodlights that me and Annika and Amanda used to deal with. We used to burn you. Remember those ones? We used to clip them on and you'd be trying to draw. Because I know when I was in college, it was interesting. That's the best way. And I went to a very expensive college too. So I was like, I had to improvise my room. I had a bunch of those little floodlights clipped everywhere because they were powerful. But they got really hot. They got really hot. But nowadays they have LED components that can actually, bulbs that can go in it and make it feel much softer. So you can replace this with a floodlight that you can purchase. Now, if you do have a budget, and you can, if you have like a $60 or to $100 budget, and you want to say, hey, I want to properly photograph, then I'll say invest into these little soft boxes that they have here. Now the gallery had the smaller budget, and they've invested in these little soft boxes that comes with a nice little LED light. Understand? And with these soft boxes that comes with the LED light, there's the button. Gives you just the right amount, you know, for smaller pieces. And it gets, when you start doing, when you do pieces bigger than 2 feet. Anybody does artwork bigger than 2 feet? No one yet? No one? Everyone? Are you look at the shit? Me, I do it. So if you do bigger artwork, then that's when you need stronger light, right? Or you can utilize the elements of taking the picture outside, and I'll talk about that too. So you start thinking about how these lights work. You can use these things, and how do you shoot it again? What angle? You sure? You all sure? All right. So 45 degrees. So I just showed you how to shoot it with a softbox. When you want certain elements to have more detailed pop and everything, some people like to use these type of lights. These are the LED lights. This one is a little stronger. You can control when you get that fancy budget, like the gallery of the fancy budget, right? When you have that nice budget and you want to buy some lights, you can get more control lighting. See that? This one is a controlled temperature light. You notice how we got whiter, like bluer. Lights actually don't have color. It's a reflection of how the light is actually reflected in the atmosphere to change they have a hue, so they don't have a color. You can add a gel to the light to give it more of a color to it, or they add a feature to it. So you start noticing like how it start to change. See that? Those red features. So this is the more fancier light that the gallery may ask me for. They want a sponsorship, but I'll make sure to make that happen. But you start noticing you can utilize these like, yeah, I'm like serious. Let me make sure that happens. So y'all want to do this one.
I mean, no.
Right enough. So you start seeing like how these are more temperature controlled. I can change it from having more of a blue feel to it, especially when you're doing drawings or painting that have a lot of red. A lot of red. Everyone here learned color theory, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't learn color theory, we gotta see what's the problem with visual arts one. You know what I mean? But if you learn color theory, you start to realize how reds and blue work together. Those are the primary elements. And when you're photographing it, if you're using things that has more red to it, I'll recommend shooting things that have more blue to it. If you're using stuff that have a lot of blue to it, then I would change the temperature to that. You see that? Because if you look at this, look at skin tones. See, if the darker your skin is, we take in light. The lighter your skin is, we reflect light. So I bet y'all didn't know that. It doesn't matter even if you're black or white. It's just the fact that if you have a darker skin tone, because you have a lighter skin tone, you're going to reflect light. So especially when you have these skin tones, more darker pigments have bluish elements in it. More lighter pigments have more reds in it. You understand? So you got to think of that. So those are important elements to pay attention to for when you are actually shooting or photographing. Just make sure you have 3 batteries just in case the 2 batteries are in. All right? Now, even with this light, I know it's bright and it's right in your face, right? But it's fine, I'm so sorry. You can use these elements like soft boxes and you can soften the light. I'm not going to fully put it on. It's a little fancier one by my company, Richardson Company, Florida. But it's a fancy one here. I'm going to try to fix this. So this one allows you to soften your light for when you shoot. So when you have that budget, you can do these things or invest into this stuff. Because take into consideration, these things can be an investment for your career path. Especially if you're planning to say, I want to be an artist, a serious artist. I don't have it on properly, I just have it just right here. And show how it softens the light. You see how it softens? Now it feels much easier on your eyes, right? So imagine that on your artwork. How soft do you want it or you want it harsh? When you have something that's white, look how harsh it is on that surface. You see that? But when I soften it, it gives like a nice softer tone to it. And then I can change the temperature, right? You see how it turned red? Then see how it'll look really red? So imagine about an art piece that has something like that. Like has more red or blues. It started to change, you see that? I changed this white wall into now a beige wall. See that? So you start seeing how light can be an important factor on the temperature of when it's hitting the surface. So let's take into consideration artwork. Artwork that don't reflect. So you start thinking when artwork is don't reflect like wet oil paints, you start thinking about completely flat surfaces, you start thinking about how you can put these up on the wall. Use small pins, not nails. I've seen this happen before where people get nails and just start hammering it into their piece. And I'm like, what make you think? You've seen the weirdest things as professors. I kid you not. And as students, when we were students too, we had colleagues that did some weird things when it came up to stuff. Think about also if you have a wet surface, what type of light would you want on a wet surface? Because wet things reflect more. What would you think of this thing? Soft, yes, a diffuse light. Yes, y'all paying attention. What angles do you have to shoot at if you're using?
45.
You got that 45 quick. So when you start thinking of a well-lit environment, even flat natural light, you start to think of how that's going to actually give you much more of a better presentation, especially like things like drawings. Drawings are sometimes drawn on different forms of paper like beige, newsprint, or sometimes drawn on a different tone of paper when it comes up to either if it's a drawing that you're doing reductive elements or some form of like it's being erased from it, or if it's on a black type of surface and you're creating more of a with white charcoal elements and stuff, excuse me, like that on your drawings, you have to take all the stuff into consideration for when you're shooting. So all that plays a major part when you start thinking about it. And another thing, when you're shooting with a camera, different than shooting with an iPhone. Here's like my little portable mirrorless camera that I take around. So this is my little baby I like to take pictures with. It's easy, it's affordable. It's like you get a whole kit for like 500 bucks. Pretty good. It's like and it's a mirrorless camera shooting 4K. Gallery recommendation. 10 out of 10. Do recommend. All right. So this right here, a lot of people when they shoot, first thing they go to is automatic mode. And it's not, yes, she's like, I know you do automatic all the time when you shoot YouTube. But you're gonna shoot with this, you have to think about the settings. Automatic is not bad. But with this actually camera, they actually have a portrait mode for shooting work. I love the Lumix G7. It has actually a feature that allows you to shoot artwork. And it makes adjustment under the lights. That's a great feature on a camera. So just pay attention about shooting artwork on the wall. So we talk about this, especially when it comes up to larger pieces. It's all about based on where you're positioning. What's the average way when we shoot? We try to shoot where our eyes are, right? We do like this. But everyone likes to do, I don't know why y'all do this so much. What's that? When you're doing up. Notice what's happening if I'm doing this. I'm angling up. When you try to shoot, you want to be even with your piece. If you're using a phone, I try to hold both hands to keep it as steady. You know, some people like to do this. If you feel like you're shaky and you like to shake a lot, use a tripod. They do have things and features. Where's my back? Where's the back? Sorry. They do have features and elements that you can purchase to help about everything. Yeah, about everything to show students. They do have elements. If you don't want to buy a tripod, you can buy one of these. See that? Little portable stands that you can take your photos on. And this can actually be screwed on just a regular stand. That's it. And these are cheap. You get these for like $5. That's a cheap one right there for $5. I got that on, what's the thing called? Abu Dhabi. They ended up sending me a couple of these I got. But it's like really affordable. And nowadays with Amazon, you can get almost anything. And this is like a little stand thing that I have. Sometimes I have another adjustable piece that allows it to turn on the side. So when I'm shooting, it actually will be on this right here. Turns on the side right here. So I screw it on. And when I screw it on, I get out now. Actually, let me show you. Forgot all about my little portable right here. It's my third light. So you can take this off. You see that? And I could put it on the side and screw this on in here. So if I want it on the side, and I don't have a tripod, like how she has the fancy tripod right there, I can just use this. See that? Pretty easy. And if you don't want to buy this, remember it's all about how you can do this on a budget. This is also part of this can come off. You can just buy this little feature right there. And you can just screw this. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. How about it? Let's see. Make sure you have like pliers or something because I put this on super tight. You can take it off. There you go. And I can put this on directly onto here. And this is even helpful for when you're filming and you want to have something that to keep it stabilized. Angle this, be straight. Now, I don't have a tripod. Look what I have. Portable stand. See that? And I can now take my picture. So there's several different things that you can do. It's all based on affordability. So if you're looking at taking a picture, just look at this. All right? A common way to take a 2D. So the most common way, if you start seeing it, when you start angling it, what happens? When you see what happened right there, it started to look the form, right? It started to look weird. You'd be like, why the picture look like it's wobbling? Then you start to think about when you go on the side, then once again, you're changing the perspective of the artwork. Try to make sure you're at the center. center of the piece. Because the average student work is not gonna be bigger, and no bigger than this. And even if it's bigger than this, I always tell people don't hang it up high, because it's slightly bigger. It shouldn't be no bigger than this. So there's no need to put the work all the way up here. Why are you doing that? Just play it alone. Eye level. Make sure it's even. Because that's the beautiful thing. Do not put a hole in your parents' wall and say that the Professor Richardson said I can put a hole in the wall. Make sure you take advantage of the workshop facilities and areas that we have at the school. You want to always keep your photo, notice what it is, actually directly so it can be even when you're photographing. And what feature you want to shoot your phone on? See who's taking notes. Normal, the original phone mode. Don't do zoom. Don't do, what else you don't do? Why? Why don't you do that? What's going to happen? Distortion, yes. So if you need to get close up, what would you do? Notice what you do? Bring the phone up. Just do this. If I want to get closer to him, I'm just going to go here. We're going to put the phone and take a picture because I'm doing like a photo. And I'd be like, hold it right there. Right there, you get the picture. Hold on, don't move. Don't move. I said don't move. You cannot be a good sculptor. Because I'm telling you, if you were my art piece, you would be moving, I would have gone crazy. I think you were Demon Slayer. Here we go. Do it. Here we go. Go right. If I could remember my password, I'm sorry. Oh. So notice what I'm doing. I'm gonna take a picture close. Really, really close. And then I'm gonna take a picture further away. Really, really far away, so you don't break the camera. Take a picture. And you start to notice the difference between those things when you're shooting. Okay? So pay attention to those elements. Why is it going on the phone board? So let's keep on going. Here's a fun fact when you're shooting products. So a lot of people, when they shoot products, there's several ways that you can shoot it. It's paper, right? Mm-hmm. Several different ways you can shoot it. One thing I would tell you is take advantage that we have an amazing facility here where, look, we have seamless paper. Y'all get lights and everything down here. You understand? To help y'all and assist y'all when it comes up to portfolio shooting. And what I think I might do with Amanda, plan one of these Fridays that I can help y'all photograph, like, not Fridays, like this coming Thursday, we can come in here and I can help y'all photograph for the student show. Okay? So like, I'm gonna even show you. The seamless paper, you don't need to buy the expensive, fancy seamless paper. You can buy some scrap paper, roll of scrap paper they sell at Blix or on Amazon. This is a simple piece of paper. All you need is a surface that you can put it on. I used to use my grandfather's table all the time. That used to be my surface. And then I used to pin the paper just on the wall. Well, I couldn't pin no holes. I used to put tape. Just pin one side, just pin the other side. I haven't seen one of these thumbtacks in so long. So just pin it on the wall. When you're shooting 3D work, the best way to shoot 3D work, I'm sorry, let me take that. I'm photographing, filming you. There you go. I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. So the best way to take 3D work, notice, if you want it to have more dramatic feel to it, you put your light there, above it. Right? So when you put your light above it, which I'm going to show you all, let's grab this mouse right here. Let y'all see some of the stuff that's being done in visual arts too. This is done. So the proper way, normally when we originally want to shoot this is the first thing we do. We just use the regular light and go like this. And we go down and shoot the picture like that. What's wrong with that?
You can't see all the features on it.
Can't see all the features. If you're submitting this into an art show, first thing you want to make sure, how can this be straight? Now this is a long piece. So the first thing I will shoot this with, I will shoot this at an angle. The best way to shoot it is shoot it more at an angle. Because you want to show the width, the length of this particular piece. So it's a particular piece of the hummingbird, so you want to shoot it at an angle or shoot it at a side view so you can actually see it. And if it's a mission, you want to get details. You want to capture it and get details, which I'm going to let you all get a chance to see and do. We're going to come back at this I just want to make sure we go through the presentation. We're going to do a whole section where we're going to shoot a few things, and I'm going to let y'all come up and photograph a few things. Right? So there are different ways that you can shoot. Here's an example. I'm showing you right there. So I'm actually using a strobe light, and I'm photographing one of our students' 3D work. Right here, not in this place, but right across the street. I was photographing it for a student, for several students. So I did it for them. I said, hey, let's photograph your work that you want to submit for the student show. That same student got their pieces, she did the butterfly loop. And because of that one thing we did together, and I'm showing the student how to capture it. And we use reflectors, which you can use the foam boards to help you as reflectors. There's several ways. Here's another student photographing just using lights, no strobes. Just using the C-stand to capture the LED lights. Using the LED lights, we use one light, just one. And then we incorporate, two lights for this one. One light for the strobe. The strobe is one light. That's a one light setup. Here's a 2 light setup. Understand? And we get a side light, and then we have another light coming from the top. It gives 3D work. Here's a good example of a 2 light setup. And then also an example of the photo. This is all shot with a phone. It's all cell phone, an iPhone, and an Android. So I always try to use both. Here's another example of just an iPhone. That's just a sculptural piece that a student did. But if you see that, you'd be interested in putting that in the show, right? So think about how one can photograph an element with just a phone. You start seeing great examples. This is a wire sculpture assignment that we did at Visual Arts 2. So here's great examples of how one can use just a phone. There are always 3 steps when you photograph it. There's one they call the glory shot, which is the full shot. Then you have the detail shots. And the detail shots is what gets Amanda's attention when she's looking at it. She's like, oh, so this is what that really is. And they start paying attention to those detail shots. Those are critical elements to help enhance you to get chances for you to get into a show. You get what shot you will get first? The glory shot, which will be the full shot, the full frame, and then you have your detail shot. Same thing with this. You have your glory shot, or your full frame, and then you have your detail shots. Alright? Here's another element. I love my DIYs. It's important. Build it on your own budget. So when those will be like, I can't afford the tripod, or I can't afford this. Like you find some stuff around the house, you start building. So cardboard is always free, right? You can always find a lot of free cardboard. And sometimes your parents or family members always have tape. You know, tape is always around the house. So here's a way that you can build it. You can measure, everyone know how to use a ruler, right? You can measure, cut, and create. That's what I like to say. Measure, cut, and create. So here's a measure, cut, and create softbox. That's a fabric piece of sheet that someone had, a white thin sheet, and they actually staple it all around the element. So that's the one that I found, that's the one that I made. So I showed you, I made this, and don't be like, you use a professor, you know how to do that. No, anyone can do this. So think about the different elements that you can do in creating. And then also think about if you want to create your own tripod to take photos, look how you can do that. This PVC pipe. If your parents have some PVC pipe around the house, utilize that. Other DUIs, soft boxes, light boxes. Building your own light box. Utilizing different elements of just cutting it, using some frost paper that you can buy, or you can use a fabric to help you. So make sure you're capturing being creative, and then also the number one thing that we're going to be learning, how to properly shoot using your phone. Okay? So let's do it. I know we went through a lot. It's a lot. A lot of giving you. First thing, positioning your pieces where you have light coming from the window, not directly, but coming from the side. Guess what that does? That push all of your shadows. So you have to think of how, whatever the medium is, when it comes up to drawing, when it comes up to paintings, think about if it's a thing that can actually be stand up and be controlled, I will utilize window lights, utilize lights from outside, and put it in a space that has a solid background. A solid. Don't put it in spaces that has a bunch of colors. And then when you're holding, you always think about first capturing details, because when you do that, you think about the details of the work, and then you think about how you're actually capturing the overall piece. Because you think about the full frame and then the details. Same thing. Or you can utilize elements like what I just showed you just now. These little components to help you properly capture and position your paintings or drawings. Even when it comes to the drawing, I normally go outside in a shaded area, well lit, shaded area, when it comes up to my drawings, and I put them on the clipboard. I will clip them, especially if it's a white area that you can come in and take a nice picture of. You can do that because you already have a nice lit area that is bright enough. So you always think about where you're positioning, how you're positioning. Always think of a solid area or a solid surface, even if it's outside. Think of a solid surface, and you can actually photograph. So whenever you're photographing, think about that. Even when it comes up to 3D work, think about the three main things. You think about the full frame, the full thing, and then the detail shots. And when you shoot the detail shots, notice what I'm doing. Making sure I'm away from the piece. You start thinking about where the light source is coming from to make it have more interesting dramaticness to it, and also how you're positioning your pieces. I like to mount it so to keep it flat. You don't want to keep it at an angle, because what happened? It starts to look deformed. So be aware of your key standing when it comes to the keystoning, avoiding images being skewed. All right? So here's the right way, and here's the wrong way. So remember our famous way we like to do? We like to tilt our phones. Try to keep it as straight as possible. All right? Because when you do that, you have better things to capture. And then think about tones. Home lamps give you what? A warm look. Natural light gives it more of a nice cool look. Keeps your colors nice and cool, and they pop. When you use those little lamps, they start to look red. Be aware of that. Here's a good example if you're shooting at home. The doors are open, they're in a lidded area. Notice how light is hitting it? And this is the time that they're shooting this, was like when the sun is really hot. Because you have all of that light coming directly down. So that's another good time that you can shoot. Keep all those doors open, keep everything open, and you notice they're shooting on the wall. All right? Just make sure y'all ask your parents, can I pin something on the wall? Not Professor Richardson in the gallery said we need to put holes in the wall to hang up our art pieces. Because we are going to be held responsible for holes in the wall. Be aware of hotspots, because they think about your direct light. So make sure you be considerate of where you're positioning your pieces. All right? So let's look at some before and after photos of when you properly shoot your images and when you're trying to submit it. So this is before and after. So this is when a student shot it at home on the wood. What do you think? It's not bad, right? Not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. But what's the difference between that and the next one?
One looks more professional.
It looks more professional. Shot with the same device. Yeah, it doesn't. Same device, but it doesn't matter if it's not showing the original color. It's the fact that it's looking down at the piece. It's not giving it the hierarchy to make it feel like it's larger than life. You understand? So I said, go even when you're shooting your photo. Don't look down or don't skew it. That's what's happening. So think about, and then also you can see the details when you go in. Here's another example of before and after. You see, our normal when we're shooting something, what we do? We look down. So when you want to shoot something, what you do? You look down. Look at the difference when we shot it with the light off, the lamp off, and the lamp on. You see the difference? So we have the full shot, and we have our detail shot. All shot with the same phone. Just the difference. What's the difference? It's the light, right? Same thing with this. Same thing. We didn't have nothing for it to sit on, so we made something. So I told her to get a piece of paper, just wrap a box, so it could have that white, clean shark tape. This is also all HCC students. All HCC students wear it. So you see the before and after. Remember that little dragon one I showed you, the girl showing you the two lights? Here's the end result of that. With the two lights. When we share the light on the corner here and the light above, that's the two lights. So this one looked like almost like a shadow. And she's like, oh, this is cool, look like the dragon. But you couldn't see it. You have all these other things distracting you in the background. And this is another student piece, before and after. And I did it with the light on and light off. Before and after. Same thing, but look at the difference. Same phone device. And I said, we're going to use the same device. But we shot it on portrait mode to get that little blur effect on it. And then we shot it regular. It's just based on where the light, and we have reflectors around it to give it a nice tone. Same thing. This is also HCC students. The student even submitted in the student show. I was so mad. I was like, not angry, but I was like, man, it's a beautiful piece. Didn't submit it. They're like, I'm taking this home and I'm keeping it. I was just like, okay, beautiful. Here's another piece, before and after. Same student, shot the same thing, but we angle it. Same thing. So I have one more thing I want to show you. First of all, there's some free apps that you can use to edit your photos. Some free ones, right? Lightroom is a great one. Lightroom for phones, and then also Snapseed. So Lightroom has some amazing features where you can edit all your pictures at the same time. You can set the settings, and then you can actually say, hey, I want the settings to go on multiple pictures. But my favorite of all is Snapseed. Snapseed, I love Snapseed. Snapseed is my go-to app when I'm shooting stuff on my phone. This is my go-to app. So it's like an amazing app that you can do basically some of the things that you can do with Lightroom, but not all, but it actually has some amazing editing features. An extremely great, amazing editing features, to the point where Adobe tried to buy them off. Say, hey, we want to buy you. You understand? You're that good, we want to make sure, take your technology and your information and use it. But they're being so successful without it, I think Google ended up purchasing them instead. Google's like, we're going to buy it, because we get more money, so we're going to buy it. So this is something that you can take advantage of. So now, I just want to thank y'all guys for coming, but I have one more thing I want to show y'all after this, is actually show y'all how to shoot a 3D piece, and you get a chance to physically see that. But I want to thank you for coming, and thank Amanda for having me to teach y'all that. I hope y'all learned a lot. I hope that was a lot of information.
Thank you.
I'm going to use this as a softbox. So when you go like here, you see the difference? I'm going to try something a little different with that. So see when it's not there, look how dark that area is. When I put that 45-degree angle, look how it's nicely lit. See that? The light coming right here, move brighter. So on the top, even adds a hair light to the top. You see the dark area up here? Yep. It softens. So let's shoot with our phone. Got it? So normally when people shoot, they shoot like this. I turn my camera upside down, and look what it does. It lines it up perfectly. So I turn the camera upside down. That's my little trick. And I take a picture. And if I want detail, come here, take a picture, take another picture. Even if I turn off this light and you bring it at the top, the one on top. Come up some more. And I shoot it again. It will still give me a nice, even color. So with things like this, with extremely long stuff, this is where I'll extend the paper. All right, extend the paper with it. And right now, see all those dark areas on top?
Yeah.
So those dark areas on top, look at the difference. And I soften it, the soft marks. I'll bring it lower. So if I try to get a detailed shot, I'll put this in portrait mode. Shoot here, shoot there, shoot above. Kind of all the detail areas. Notice what I do when I flip my camera too. Upside down. Get that. And then I'm going to get my shot, my full frame shot. And now you have these features with your phone where you can go in and they can edit your background up. I've got all these AI stuff now. And come here. Notice I'm not zooming in. I'm just physically